We're talking about transaction processing. So again, perhaps this blockchain patent, what they're not talking about is, yeah, they're selling you as one thing of the cryptocurrency, central bank, depositing it in, depending on if you do exercise or you don't for the day, you don't get paid. There's a lot of things. You're at the protest, you weren't. You ate junk food, you didn't. But that's the sell point. The real usage is your brain. Now, so for me, I don't know, because just go back to scripture for a second. These angels were kicked out of heaven. And think about that. They've come into these realms here, and the realm they exist in, they're not connected. They can't connect back with source, to the oneness. So perhaps they're going to run our brains to try to connect back into God again, but they're going to use a physical means to it because they're spiritually disconnected. New studies show that by the time people reach their middle ages, the body often produces less than half of the collagen it did in their youth. Collagen is the main building block in our skin, making up 70 to 80% of it. This is why we get sagging skin and wrinkles as we age. If you want to look younger, you must supplement collagen, which will improve your skin's elasticity, make it smoother, more plump, and more youthful looking. That's why Ageless Multi-Collagen provides 5 key types of collagen you need from 4 different sources, essential to optimally support an array of full-body benefits. No odor, no taste, no clumping, unlike other collagen supplements. And this is why I recommend Health with Adapt 2030. Ageless Multi-Collagen, and look at that, I need another bag already. Quick way for youthful appearance. Use the link in the description box below for 51% off my favorite Ageless Multi-Collagen. And now on with the video. And I talk about crypto a lot. So I think Chainlink and Algorand are going to be 2 in 2021 that shoot up pretty high. Because Algorand is similar. It's a cross-country protocol for interbank settlements, but it's based in being rolled out across Africa right now, which is interesting. I always talk about North Africa becoming a new grow zone, but here's Algorand over there with their banks intertwining itself as the base layer protocol for all movement of monies across North Africa. So think about that. If you're going to put out a new grow zone in Africa, somebody in Mauritania is not going to, well, they could accept the money in Egypt because those are kind of, they're decent economies that are still operable. But if you have somebody from Chad and you're going to roll over to Sudan, like those 2 fiats are going to be non-interoperable. And the exchange rate will probably kick you back 30 or 40%. And the same, if you're going to come from the UK down into Chad, I mean, that exchange rate is, are you going to roll home with a handful of different monies from across Africa and be able to change them? Of course not. But if you're going to build out an entire continent to have it the new largest food growing area on the planet, you're going to have an interoperable currency where 1 equals 1. So if you're working in Egypt or you're working in Sudan or you're working in Chad or you're working down in Nigeria or Niger or Mauritania or wherever, that your money can be interswapped anywhere. And my 1 spends as 1 in any country across that region. This is where Algorand is already operating, and they already have authority, and they've already been approved by the SEC, and they will not have the same problems as Ripple does. So you're looking at these protocols and these interoperable payments that have already gotten approval from the SEC to operate, not as a security, but as a coin money, if you will. So like jump past those next steps where you see the SEC using the banks to try to squash the innovation and take away all competition. And you already got to see who's approved out there and who's going to operate as Oracle, who's going to operate as money, and where the new movement of being able to grow food across the planet is. And just jump right in the future and take a look at where they're going to be used, what's going to be used. And so I think Algorand's going to be one for sure for the year. If I had to choose one coin for the year, Algorand is my call. Again, not financial advice, just research on where the food's going to get grown in the future and how they're going to have to bring out an entire new infrastructure for half of a continent, but it needs to be paid for in some way that I can spend. I don't care if I'm a foreigner, if I'm a local, that I'm still able to spend that money, and I could take that anywhere on the planet, and 1 equals 1 for my effort.
Well, let me just say something too, because somebody in the chat said digital government coins are not the same as cryptos. Just remember
Nope,
that. You're absolutely right. They're
they're
not the
not.
same. There's a big difference. But now, folks, these are the words that most of you might know this, but if you don't, no big deal. I get it. Centralized versus decentralized. Look into that. A centralized digital coin versus a decentralized cryptocurrency. The decentralized systems are what gives people an opportunity to break out of this massive octopus that has brought its tentacles into virtually everything around the globe, that has toppled nations with debt. I mean, that's another alternative to gold and silver and precious metals. Now, a digital currency that's centralized, that could be, let's say, as an example, linked to a technology that would blockchain your thoughts, blockchain your movements, blockchain where you go, what you do, then you're talking mark of the beast type scenario, in my opinion.
666 patent Bill Gates did the whole movement of the body cryptocurrency to be paid out if you acted in an appropriate manner. Where your body was, if it's in the wrong place, you were to protest, they removed money from your account or tokens, whatever they were going to pay you in. If you did something repetitiously, like raked your yard or did some kind of exercise, it was all taken into account, your physiology, heart rate, blood flow rate, and a few other things, vitamins in the body. And they were seeing what kind of foods you're ingesting. And it was all based on physiology and movements of the body. And then you were rewarded from that. And I kid you not, the patent for that is 060606. Look that up. Yeah, the central bank digital currency. I might want to say one last thing about Ripple XRP. You know, the bankers went hard at that, but the thing that makes no sense is XRP and RippleNet was working with the U.S. government for interbank and cross-border payments, which made no sense to me. Like, why would the SEC and Department of Justice go after a very entity that they've been working with for a couple of years for central banks to be able to smooth out and get these cross-border payments set? 4 seconds is the payment time. 4 seconds between one entity paying another, one government paying another, one company paying the government, you doing something. 4 seconds. Not days like we do now. Not these ultra long chains of intermediaries that something could go wrong when they're broadcasting their chain of custody from the next to the next to the next and taking their fee out every way along the way. You know, Ripple was set up for 4-second transactions. But the amount of money and time that went in on RippleNet development with every international bank across the planet, every Fortune 500 company, Bank of International Settlements, all international sovereign custodial banks, and every, what we consider, like the Fed and European Central Bank and the Bank of Japan and Switzerland, all these central banks worked with them too. Like, they've been going at this hard for 5 years, billions and billions in research, rolling out the protocols, interoperability, everybody's in it. I encourage you to look to see who's involved with RippleNet. And for them to come out and say, oh, we're going to have to stop and delist you and stuff. I am going to tell you that I heard, this is more than a year ago, it was like almost a year and a half ago. I heard in passing, and I'd seen a couple of videos and people talk about this, where they were saying that in the future, you will not be able to access Ripple.
Dude, that's an interesting possibility. I've got a little bit of Ripple, and I've got some Chainlink also, and I was going to get your take on Chainlink. I wanted to show something real quick, though. I just wanted to show this off. Yeah, this is the patent, and you just see WO060606A1 or 2020-060606A1. Now, it's a patent from Microsoft, and if you look at what it actually does is not only does it blockchain your body activity, but they would like to be able to blockchain your emotions. Now, think about it blockchaining your voice as well. So everything you say is blockchained and then deciphered and then analyzed whether or not you would be worthy of being paid or not. But here's where I find it fascinating. If they can blockchain your thoughts and emotions, and if you think what you're supposed to think, or if you don't think what you're supposed to think, then you don't get paid. It could actually alter your thinking process. It could alter your thoughts and your emotions. And listen to this. Here's the abstract. Human body activity associated with a task provided to a user may be used in a mining process of a cryptocurrency system. A server may provide a task to a device of a user, which is communicatively coupled to the server. A sensor communicatively coupled to the coupled to or comprised in the device of the user may sense body activity of the user. Body activity data may be generated based on the sensed body activity of the user. The cryptocurrency system communicatively coupled to the device of the user may verify if the body activity data satisfies one or more conditions set by the cryptocurrency system and award cryptocurrency to the user whose body activity data is verified. Now, why would they come up with that patent for something, or the patent number for a digital currency? I mean, I get it if it's a, I don't really get it, but it'd be one thing if it was a television patent for like new graphics technologies or a computer or something, but it's a patent for digital currency. No man can buy or sell without the mark of the beast, folks. Let me share that with you in Revelation. And I'm not even religious, but I do know that there's a lot of knowledge in ancient scriptures. Okay, now, and he causeth all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand or in their foreheads, and that no man might buy or sell save that he had the mark or the name of the beast or the number of his name. Well, what is the number of his name? The number of his name is 666. And I just lost that. Or the number is the number of a man, which is the number 6 threefold. And where was that part? Here is wisdom. Let him that hath understanding count the number of the beast, for it is the number of a man, and his number is 666. So that would be 666.
Yeah, because three score is 20 years, or a score is 20. So 407 years ago from Lincoln's famous speech at Gettysburg, or 4 is, 87 years prior. So when you start to look at the score, so the 3 would be 60. Now, another thing that the patent doesn't mention is the processing capability of your brain is limitless. Storage capacity of your brain, what you remember, is limited. But one of these things that keeps running through pervasively through the entire ecosystem of digital, and we'll just leave it at digital, could be the cryptocurrencies, could be blockchain, could be all these other things that we're talking about, processing capacity. Now, since we're tapped in and we're receivers through the antenna into the river of consciousness and back into the creator itself, that is a limitless processing capability, processing instrument that you have called your brain. Taking that receiver signal down. Now, what you remember is something completely different, but the processing capability is endless and limitless. So if you have 8 billion of us with our brains and a limitless capacity of processing, see, a lot of what they're being stuck at right now is the processing capability is not fast enough. The processing transaction speeds are not fast enough. They need to get it. Imagine if the processing speeds were 1 billion times faster. Well, they only need 1 billion people to be running your brain as a processing capacitor, not a storage. That's way different. We're talking about transaction processing. So again, perhaps this blockchain patent, what they're not talking about is, they're selling you as one thing of the cryptocurrency, central bank, depositing it in, depending on if you do exercise or you don't for the day, you don't get paid. There's a lot of things. You're at the protest, you weren't. You ate junk food, you didn't. But that's the sell point. The real usage is your brain. Now, so for me, I don't know, because just go back to scripture for a second. These angels were kicked out of heaven. And think about that. They've come into these realms here, and the realm they exist in, they're not connected. They can't connect back with source, to the oneness. So perhaps they're going to run our brains to try to connect back into God again, but they're going to use a physical means to it because they're spiritually disconnected. They're not able to connect. God kicked them out of heaven, and they're back on this realm. And whatever way you want to take that as in a metaphorical sense or something, for me, there was a disconnect between either 2 types of resonant connection or electromagnetic Birkeland current connection, if you want to go to larger on stars and planets and solar systems. But that resonant field connection, there was a disconnect there, and it was explained in a way. Maybe it vibrated too low and it couldn't hold state, so it got kicked out, whatever that would be. But this artificial intelligence, and Ahriman, I think was the name, Ahriman, you would know better than I, but it's been this process of trying to bring humanity up to a certain level of technology to harness the human, use the brain, replicate that, and then join God again, or try to get back up to connect to God through us by using our brains through an AI technocracy system Aramon, is that the one? Armon or Aramon? That was the,
Yes.
you know, tell me about that.
Yes.
Cause you know, that's where I get wishy-washy on there trying to remember what else went on behind that.
Yeah, the name goes back to ancient Persia, and it's a fascinating study. Ladies
Thank you,
and
Rex.
gentlemen.
Always a joy to listen to you too. I really, like to hear what you got in the back of your brain there too. Can you throw us off with a strange and unusual thought, something I'm completely not
Yeah.
thinking about right now?
In the age of Aquarius. Okay, that was terrible. Stop right now. Zorg made me do it.